Brothers Simon, Ben and Tony Conning have developed a vertically integrated, diverse operation providing fresh, nutritious produce to domestic markets around New Zealand, including a retail outlet for local consumers in Tasman and Nelson. They're building this on the foundations of a vegetable growing business begun by their parents on the Waimea Plains near Richmond.
My parents, Robbie and Cheryl, started this business out 40-something years ago on 10 acres, and since there it's grown to around 160 hectares, some of which we lease and some of which we own. About 7 years ago, my two brothers and I moved back into the business. So I look after the sales and harvesting side of the farm. My brother Toby, he looks after production. And then my oldest brother Simon, he runs the retail side of the business. We grow all of our crops from seedling right through to harvest. We propagate them all in our nursery here. We grow about 40 different crops, which most of them are transplanted out of the nursery, some of which are direct drill seeded out in the paddock. So we've got 2 pack houses, one where we pack all our greens, so that's working 12 months of the year. And then we have our onion pack house. So onions is probably our biggest singular crop, and that's generally operating for about 8 months of the year. The Waimea Plains is a pretty unique place to grow. It's a really good climate. It's very stony soil. Most people would think we're growing on a riverbed here, but it has its benefits. It's really free draining. And also the stones help hold a lot of heat in as well. So that combined with just a really good climate, we can grow a lot of the seasonal crops that don't really grow that well in other parts of the country, and we can be earlier and later on the shoulders of the season as well. The majority of our produce ends up in the markets in Christchurch and locally here in Nelson, all over the country really. But then a small percentage we send off to our retail stores as well.
So initially it was an idea we had when my wife and I were in Wellington and we moved back to Nelson, and we started a roadside stall called Farm Fresh, which is a pretty generic name, but it was really to sell the seconds and the out-of-spec produce that comes from the farm and sell it direct to the consumer. And so from there it evolved and grew pretty quickly, and pretty soon we realised that we needed to expand into a new store. And so in 2019 we built and got the new store up and running. We went from 2 staff, my wife and I, in a nail box as our till, to growing to 8 staff before we had to move into the new store 18 months later. And currently we've got 130 staff across the 2 stores. Via the market is all fresh fruit and produce, comes from the market. We do get a lot of it from local growers and orchards, so apples and pears, that all comes locally. And then everything else comes from MG's or TG's market mainly, which is, the bulk of it is New Zealand produce. That all comes from those markets. The produce from the farm, so we don't get so much waste, right? So onions, we grow 12 to 1,500 tonne of onions a year, and it was probably an idea to reduce our wastage across the board. It's been a bit of a challenge to get that right, and we're probably showcasing it a bit more now with nutritious, real produce. The benefits of being local for us is the reduction in wastage, I suppose. It's freight, it's fuel, it's time, and really the big thing being local is the freshness. So my brothers will harvest it something today and it'll be on the shelf in the morning. At 6 in the morning it'll get there, and the first customer through the door will get the stuff that's harvested and it's under a day old. We're 4 kilometres down the road, and we can have it there very fast. There's no lag in transporting. So the decision on crops is probably inherited that from Dad, I suppose. He's had 40 plus years in this and has probably ironed out a lot of the kinks that someone would have issues if they were starting new. And so a lot of the planning, we don't have to adjust too much, we just make tweaks as we go. Because we have the seeding line and we can go from seed to sale to the customer, we control the whole stack from seed to sale. And so any little tweaks, they're generally little, they're not massive. We have years of data and information that we can pull back on.
We've always tried to incorporate technology where we can, just to make things more efficient and streamline as much as we can. Just recently we've gone and purchased a new robotic planter, and it just means we can do a lot more with less people, and we can do it faster and at any time of the day. With opening our own food market, it's meant that there was a lot more vegetable lines opened up that we didn't grow before. So, now we grow fancy lettuces or kohlrabi or kale or spring onions, anything like that we just sell through our store, which we otherwise don't sell into the wholesale markets. It makes running the business quite challenging, and I don't think there's many people around the country that probably do what we do, growing so many different crops at a reasonable scale. It is complex, but it just gives us an extra sort of dynamic that you can't get in any other store really.